once, Buzz. My ass.
I'm only 4. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I'm your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 36th year of the award at the 40th Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 1967. Today's guest was last heard on the podcast discussing Der Führer's Face and the nominees of 1942. Please welcome Fritz. Hello, Fritz.
Hey, thanks so much for having me again.
It is a pleasure to have you. We had so much fun the last time, and I just couldn't wait to get you on again.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me again.
So remind us, what is your familiarity with the Best Animated Short category?
To be honest, my familiarity with this is rather limited. So I'm actually always very happy when you invite me, so I can watch some Oscar-nominated or winning movies that I, to be honest, have not seen before.
Well, that is one of the joys of making this podcast.
Yes,
Of introducing all these people who have little to no knowledge or maybe even interest in this category, just kind of shoving them into a room with these 3 to 5 short films and forcing them to watch them. And when they come out,
they're short. So
it is.
Yeah.
Like for most of the years, it's like you can get through all of them in like half the time it would take to watch like any of the Best Picture nominees or anything. So it's just like one of the things I like about this podcast is that it is very easy to like ask guests to watch them because it's just they're all so short and easy, and all of them are easy to find usually. So it's just like I don't feel like I'm burdening my guests when I ask them on.
No, you're definitely not.
But yes, let's get into these nominees. And this year has only 3. Our first nominee and the year's winner is The Box, directed and produced by Fred Wolf. This is the first and only Oscar nomination and win for producer Fred Wolf. However, his company, Murakami Wolf Productions, co-founded with Jimmy T. Murakami, would produce one more Oscar nominee in the following year, though Wolf personally is not nominated there. Murakami Wolf started in the early 60s making commercials in one previous short film called The Bird. Today's short, The Box, is what really put the company on the map, though there's a lot more to say about Murakami than there is about Wolf. But we'll save him for next week. As for the short, The Box is about a man who walks into a bar with a box. People want to know what's in the box, and comedy ensues. Fritz, what did you think of The Box?
Well, first of all, it's interesting to know that it won because I have to be honest, I did not check which movie won because I don't want to give away too much away right away. But to be honest, none of those 3 movies really blew me away, and somehow I didn't feel that I didn't watch them and thought, oh, this should be a winner. So somehow I didn't check out. But it's interesting to know that this one won. I have to say, I like the sound. So that there's this kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I don't think you can call it jazzy soundtrack, but there's some kind of this constant sound in the background that's nicely done. And I like the animation. So I like how simple it is. So the store in the background that somehow appears, the way this first guest constantly turns into an animal for just a short amount of time. Otherwise, I have to say, we just discussed they are short, and I have to say, and I have to be honest, this felt endless. I know it was just 7 minutes, and maybe it's because we are so used to looking at a screen for just a couple of seconds, we could probably get distracted, but I just felt this never ended.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Like, I agree with you that like the music that's going on is really interesting and different, and I love the way how the film like kind of rotates its perspective at times. I thought that was kind of interesting, and yeah, like you were saying, the simplistic design of it all is very interesting, where it's just like the man, the box, and the bar he sits on, and then occasionally the people come in, and it's like, but yeah, it's a very, very bare bones kind of short because it's just like it literally just is this guy has a box and people want to know what's in it, and then occasionally he opens it up for them. It's like it's like, and what even is in the box is just like it's just a little creature thing. It's just like, oh, it's just a thing. Okay, like I was when I before I knew like what this short was about, like when I was first watching through all the nominees, it's just like I was expecting to not find out what was in the box. Like I thought it was going to be like, but no, we do kind of find out pretty quickly. It's just a little. I guess it's still a
I think it's
mystery.
a
What?
mouse. Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
or like it's a mystery. Like what exactly the little creature is, but just a little thing. Like it's although actually, yeah, you're probably right. It is probably a mouse because it's like the first guy he was like really scared of what was inside. He probably has just like a fear of mice, and then the woman she put like her hand in the box and it came out wet, which I imagine is probably like the mouse or the creature just like licking it or whatever. Or and then it's like then the third person comes in with a box of her own, which also has a creature of some kind in it, and then they put the boxes together, and then I assume the little creatures are mating, and then they and then the main guy and the new guest they go off together, or bonding over the fact that they're box creatures have found love.
I mean, it's important with this one that you really watch it until the end. I have to be honest. I almost skipped it at the end because I thought it was over, and then I read a comment in the YouTube section that said, "Really watch it until the end." So I did, and then I thought, okay, that's apparently what they are going for. But even then, I mean, I was kind of interested in the movie when the first guy showed up, and when he looked into the box, he had this expression on his face as if he had looked just into the gates of hell. So I was interested what he was seeing, and then the payoff was so I don't know. And by the time the woman came, then we had the same thing again, and then it kind of became boring. And then another woman came, and then I don't know. Then it just lost me.
Mm.
And I mean, I have to say, I never said I would say the sentence, and I surely never said I would say it on record. But watching these movies, I kind of miss World War II. I mean, those shorts we talked about. I mean, they were all propaganda, but they had a purpose. They wanted to engage the audience. They had a story. They wanted to rile you up, and it was easy to get a connection to them and to know what they were about. And I don't know, when you have this very short time to make a movie, you either need a really good story or have some kind of interesting angle. And I know, Christoph, you always shows us this. I don't know what's the movie called. This
Balance? Yeah.
balance, is it? Yeah,
Yeah,
he always
balance.
shows this as his favorite example of an animated short movie, and this is really the perfect movie that doesn't really have a story but has a very interesting concept.
Mhm.
And these propaganda movies, they all had kind of interesting stories. They wanted to accomplish something, but I don't know. I have no idea what the purpose of the box, or to be honest, the other two
Yeah.
movies we're
Uh,
talking about is.
so yeah, my German guest Fritz just said I miss World War II.
I know that's gonna come
Please
back to
cancel
haunt
him.
me. Yeah.
uh, but but yeah, I agree. This is one of the weaker winners in the category. It's just I wish it was funnier, or I wish it had a more of a something more distinct on its own. Like I do enjoy like the concept of like this guy walks into a bar and he has a box and we don't know what's in it, but it's just like it doesn't really do much with that. Like it could have been a lot funnier. Like I feel like if if this was like an idea for like Looney Tunes or like MGM cartoon, I think they would have had more fun with the idea. It's like, but this one is just so bare bones, and it's just like I don't really care about
Yeah.
it by the end of it. But yeah,
It feels either, as you said, either we should know what's in the box or there should be a really big payoff. And I think at the end, so I don't know, are they is it Noah's Ark and he was
I
looking for for a
I
second animal?
I guess so. Like I imagine because like after the credits it does show like, oh, it's a big arc, and it's just like, okay, this is Noah, and we do see that it's also like raining outside, so it's like, oh, he's I guess what is implied is that like he is hunting for a last chance mate for this second creature, and also I guess for himself. Uh, but it's just like
It
I
seems
don't
a
know.
weird way to find a second creature.
It just doesn't work. And also, when he's in the bar, it really just seems like he's looking for people to buy him drinks, or he's just there to
Yeah.
get some drinks. It's, and it's just like, and if people will give him enough drinks, he'll show them what's in the box.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It feels very ending of Seven. What's in the box?
it would have been much more interesting if we had Gwyneth Paltrow's head in that box.
Yes. And it's an animated movie. They could have shown it.
Oh, it's like it's like he opens the box and it's just the decapitated head of like whoever looks into it. It's like,
See, we come up with much better ideas already.
yes. It's like that's why he's so scared when he looks into it. That's why her hands wet when she like puts it in because it's like covered in blood or whatever. It's like... Okay, I think that's a good place to move on. We don't have much more to say about this. So our second nominee is Hypothèse Beta, directed by Jean-Charles Monnier. This is the first and only nomination for Monnier, and it's quite amazing how little information I can find on this guy. He does have a Wikipedia page that's only available in French, and from that I can tell that he formed the Film Society of Orsol in 1970 and is most well known for a French animated show called Coco Shaker. He seems to be a legend in terms of French educational television, helping create shows that teach kids about origami, juggling, geometry, and then whatever the hell Coco Shaker is. As for Hypothèse Beta, the film is about a punch card. Yes, the holes in the punch card are brought to life, and one of the holes gets bored of standing around and starts causing trouble. Uh, I so when I first watched this short, I remembered it being kind of boring and not very funny. And I imagine that's the experience you had, but on this rewatch, I actually found myself kind of enjoying it. Like it it kind of sounds crazy that it's like I really enjoyed the character that of the one punch hole on this punch card. Like I thought he was a kind of fun character. Like he's such a dick. Like
Yeah.
he's he's kind of annoying, but I found that kind of endearing. Like and he is just very unaware of like what the eventual seriousness of his job is to be that one last hole in, or for this whole punch card to be correct. But it's just like it's a very simple, very yeah, I guess that's the only word for it. It's just very simple, but I found that I was enjoying it. It reminds me I don't I don't believe you've seen the short film, but there's a previous nominee a few years ago called High Note, where it's a similar thing, except it's like music notes on a page are brought to life, and they're like building the whole score, but one of them gets drunk or whatever and starts causing trouble. Oh, and it's just like, and that's a very similar concept. However, and it's like that one does more with the concept, I think, but I also enjoyed this one more. I thought this one was kind of funnier, and it's like I think the extreme simplicity of what it is kind of helps it because it's like the only shot we see outside of like the final moments is just this one punch card. It's like the camera never moves, and we
Yeah.
just see the punch hole like move around and stuff. And it's just like I don't know. I guess I was just charmed by it, like how clearly like low budget it was. It's just like the fact that it was probably a miracle that this got even made and much less got nominated for an Oscar. It's just like I appreciate those kind of underdog stories, and so watching this is just like I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. What about you?
Um, you're right. I also appreciate the simplicity of it all. I found it interesting how, I mean, it's like 7 minutes, and I had the feeling the first 90 seconds of it were the title sequence in some way. So it's kind of funny how long it took the movie to really begin.
Hmm.
And then I was also like, okay, that's it. Okay, apparently that's it. And I have to agree with you, as annoying as this one. So I don't even know. So it's a hole in a punch card.
Yeah.
As annoying as this whole hole is, um, I also thought it was kind of funny. It's like if you make a movie about your most annoying work colleague, and
Actually, yeah, that's probably it. Like,
I mean, there were parts when I found it funny. I think in the middle, I began to get more annoyed by him. I think in the end, I became a little bit more charmed by him. And I mean, I like that there is a lot you can speculate about with this movie. So it is very vague. So I don't know. In my opinion, maybe I just didn't understand it, but it felt very vague to me, just what it wanted to say. So in the end, if I don't know if this, I suppose there's some kind of military action at the end that
mhm.
this punchline, this punch card
So
starts. So I don't know if this was something they do in defense or if this is something they start. So if they are now starting World War III and this guy actually prevented, tried to prevent World War III, but it doesn't seem that he wants to prevent it. He just seems he wants to mess around with everyone else. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Is he doing the right thing for the wrong reason? Is it one individual against everyone else? Is it just or is it just about an annoying guy? So there's you can speculate a lot.
Mhm. Like the way I read the film is that it's a film that's about you should really take your job seriously. Like you shouldn't goof around. It's just like, and I'll just say it's like it did kind of slow down for me like at the whole point where they're just kind of chasing the one hole around everywhere, but then they kind of staple him to the punch card somehow. Uh, but but yeah, and then it ends with just like he ends up getting out of order when the beam that reads the punch card comes by. And I think what it was is like this punch card is like I don't know how this works, but it's like the fact that it read the punch card wrong or that the punch card was different meant that like it detected it was a false positive for like a nuclear bomb or strike incoming or like some attacking force. And so then the guy he starts launching nukes back at the other side or whatever, and it's implied that oh the whole world ends now because this one guy was or this one hole in a punch card was just like yeah I'm bored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, but I mean, he should have. If he hadn't been bored, then the world would even have ended sooner. So I'm not 100% sure what they are saying. If they are just saying if they want to say this one little hole can change the world or can change the course of the world, or I don't know.
I don't know. It's yeah. There's not much else to say about this.
Somehow not. I also agree. I found it somewhat entertaining. So and it it is probably an interesting concept.
Mhm.
I give it that.
Yeah, and that jarring kind of ending with the nuclear war being implied. It's just like it's such a like you spend the whole short film just kind of watching this punch card and thinking like, okay, it's a punch card that gets read. It's like what you're just kind of wondering like what the whole purpose of it is because it seems kind of just very almost too small scale. But then you jump from that to the massive implications of nuclear war as just like it's so just jarring, kind of like a whiplash feeling you've got. And it's just like that is just hilarious to me.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of leaves you. Oh,
It's like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
That's what this was about.
But yeah, I think yeah, like I've been saying, it's a very simple but very fun kind of short film, and I think I like it more than most people do, but still, it's good fun.
I say it has some things going for it.
Yeah, unlike the box.
Yeah.
So our third and final nominee is What on Earth, directed by Kai Pindle and Les Drew. This is the second Oscar nomination for both Wolf Koenig and Robert Verrill, nominated last year for The Drag, and the fifth nomination for National Film Board of Canada as a whole. Both will have a nomination after this ceremony, but this is their final one together. As for the directors, Kai Pindle started his animation career in his home country of Denmark, who made anti-Hitler cartoons while under German occupation. Post-war, He made films in Denmark and Sweden before moving to Canada in 1957 and starting work for NFB. Pintle has done a lot of work in Canada, both in regards to making animated films and teaching the art of animation. His most famous work is probably Peep in the Big Wide World, a children's animated show which he produced, based on two short films by him, and for which he won a Daytime Emmy Award. If you're interested, Pintle also has a blog spot, which unfortunately is now defunct due to his passing in 2019. But still, kaipindle.blogspot.com if you want to see some musings from an animation legend. As for the other director of What on Earth, Les Drew, I can't find too much about him. However, as someone who has seen over 80 adaptations of A Christmas Carol, Les Drew made one of the best, the 1975 film The Energy Carol, which is a PSA about conserving energy. Generally great somehow. The best Christmas Carol adaptation behind the Muppet one. Check it out. Anyway, back to the nominee at hand. What on Earth is... Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually from the National Film Board of Mars. Yes, this is a documentary by Martians about the strange creatures they found on Earth, which are actually cars, and then analyzed their life. Fritz, what did you think of What on Earth?
So at the beginning, I enjoyed the twist that they had. So that this was so you have this movie kind of exploring the universe, and you get to know that it's not actually about people from Earth observing something else, but it's about the Martians observing the Earth. And when they said, "Here's an Earthling," and they showed a car, and you got the idea, they think Earthlings are cars, and now they are observing cars and what they are doing. This was kind of funny and interesting, and then it just dragged it out.
Mhm.
And I again had the feeling, okay, when is this going to end?
Okay, I get that, but I had a lot of fun with this one. Like I think it really does build on the concept well of like, oh, this is like this is how you would perceive life if like all life was actually cars. It's just like they imagine like the commute to work as being just all play and no work, and it's just like it's and they like say road signs are like libraries or whatever, or it's just like has a lot of kind of dumb jokes like that, but I found it pretty funny. And I also just want to say I love the whole design of the short film. Like I love the kind of detailed designs that they have for all the cars. It's like it's just it's very kind of like, I guess like pop art would be kind of the art style. Well, just depicted here. I just think it's very uh interesting and colorful, and I really enjoy looking at it. And I think the highlight of the short, though, is when they imagine how the reproduction cycle of the Earthlings is where it's just like it starts out in like a junkyard where a car gets crushed down into a cube, and then it's just like it goes through it turns into this weird liquid mush, and goes through these Dr. Seuss-esque machines where it just like beats up this hunk, and then eventually it's formed into this weird flesh mesh that kind of looks like a car, and then eventually it's just thrown around and shaped and painted, and then that's how the Earthlings are born. And I was wholly entertained by this whole sequence. I thought,
That's
go ahead.
now, I just want to say it's funny because I had the exact opposite reaction. So I was entertained at the beginning. So when they built this bridge and when the cars were driving around, but it somehow felt the pacing of the whole thing was off. And I personally, when they showed how they made this car, and as you said, this reproductive cycle, I thought for me personally, it came to a complete halt. And somehow, I don't know, it gave the movie an unnecessary pause, and there it's somehow completely lost my interest at this point. So
Mhm.
it's just funny how we react completely different to it.
It's nice to have disagreements. I forget if we disagreed much in our first episode. We might
I
have.
don't,
I don't
I
remember.
don't, I don't think we disagreed. I think we had different winners, but I don't think we disagreed overall on the movies themselves.
Okay.
I
Uh,
think you had the Führer's Face, and I don't even know what the movie was. The one in the Dutch movie.
oh,
Um,
tulips or
Tulips. Yeah, I had this as my winner, but I had the Führer's Face at number too. And let me tell you, I mean, the terrible thing is how catchy the song is. So sometimes I have to stop myself from not just walking around outside and start to sing this, which would be quite inappropriate, but it's so catchy.
Oh, the Furious Face song.
The Furious Face song, yeah.
Oh, the funny thing about that is it's like right before we recorded this episode, I was like looking at my script and I saw the mention of Darth Face as like the winner of our last episode, and the song was playing in my head. Like I was humming it while we were waiting to set up. Like,
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes when I walk outside with the dog and I feel like, oh, the Furious is the master race, and I have to say, no, I cannot sing this out loud.
oh my god.
It is very catchy.
We just got completely derailed. but I guess there isn't too much to say about this because it really is just kind of like you get the setup of like, oh, this is a documentary about Martians seeing Earth and what they think are Earthlings are cars, and it's like it's just joke after joke about that. And I also another thing I do like about this is how like at first when you're watching it you think like, oh, like if they can see cars, why can't they see humans? And then it's like at the very end of the short it's just like, oh, they have all these parasites that live within them and they build all these nets, and it's like, oh, okay, so the humans are just parasites. It's
And it
on
was
the car.
funny.
Yeah, that was a good joke. And like that's how it ends too, like how the cars are eventually going to succeed in destroying the parasites, which one reveals like the messaging of this cartoon, and two is just a very funny ending to me.
It felt a bit like the world of Cars, the movie.
Yes. I see a lot of reviews for the short on Letterboxd just comparing, like saying that this is a prequel to Cars. It's like this, or this is how the Cars world came to be.
And it's interesting. So that the Martians killed all humans and then the cars took over. Pixar should make a prequel.
Yes, it's like they should answer like all the questions we've had about the Cars universe. It's like how they reproduce and like why do they all have doors when there's no humans? It's just like things like that. And it's just like maybe this really is just like the explanation for all of that. Like Pixar should just like remake this or just take it in as like canon to the Cars universe and just accept it.
Yeah. It's a movie about about the Pixar humans who are all having fun, and then they get all killed. Then the cars take over.
Yay! Yeah, just imagine like they brutally show the death of like all the humans and all the other Pixar movies, like Andy from Toy Story and everything. Is just,
I would watch it.
I would too. It sounds like it would probably win Pixar another Oscar. I think that's a good place to end there. So now that we've gone through and talked about the 3 nominees, let's rank them all. Fritz, start us off with your number 3.
So my number 3 is The Box, simply because I liked the idea at first, but then it just completely lost me, and at the end it feels just so pointless. And it's something I would also not watch again.
My number 3 is also The Box, where it's just like it has an interesting concept, but it doesn't really do too much with it, and it's just kind of a drag as it goes on. And it's just like I just wish there was more to it. Number 2.
My number 2 feels equally pointless, to be honest, but it's a little bit more engaging, and I picked What on Earth.
All right. My number 2 is Hypothese Beta, which is similar to The Box. It has a very simple, kind of interesting concept, but Hypothese Beta is just a bit more fun, a bit more interesting. Hey, and that ending just absolutely cracks me up every time. Number 1.
Yeah, so my number 1 is, I hope I'm pronouncing this correct, Hypothese Beta. And yeah, just because it felt like the most interesting concept, and it was the one that kept me the most engaged, even though I wasn't engaged all the time. But I mean, if I'm completely honest, it's the least annoying of the 3 movies, so it's just my winner.
And it's funny because like the whole thing of the short is that there's a hole that's being really annoying. But yeah, my number one is What on Earth, which I just thought was a very funny kind of mockumentary about just like imagining like what a person would think if they thought like cars was human life, and just like how it's almost kind of a commentary on like how anthropologists, like when they look into the past and try and guess what human life was like, or what ancient human life was like, is just like imagine like how completely wrong they could be. And it's just like I just think it's very funny. I really enjoyed it, and I love the colors. So yeah, that's our ranks. We have different winners once again, which doesn't
But
actually happen that much on these three short episodes. I would, but still,
but we at least agree that the eventual Oscar winner
it's the
is
worst of the
not
three.
is the word. Yeah.
Yeah. But before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Fritz, or anything you'd like to promote?
Um, so when you promote, you can, of course, I'm always happy to promote myself.
You can say
You-
anything you want. I'll be. You can wish for World War II again if you'd like.
oh God, that will come back to haunt me. I was only talking about the American propaganda animated short movies, if that wasn't clear. So just to point this out.
Okay, Fritz
Um,
loves American propaganda. Okay, we got it now.
it's the American propaganda was better than anything we got this year. I have to be honest.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Fritz and the Oscars, and you can also find me on YouTube with Fritz and the Oscars.
All right. Well, thank you, Fritz, for coming on the show. And thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been a short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.